runs in the third inning of their 16-1 win over the Colorado Rockies. What a first impression last year. Jody Jackson was there, and she probably remembers it like it was yesterday. How great was that? 14 runs in the third inning. Everybody got excited for the D-backs last year.
Yeah, it was weird, guys, because, you're kind of just expecting, I guess like a normal game on opening day, and then it became like a big party. You sort of don't have to, anytime you don't have to worry there at the end, and you're kind of like, okay, it just becomes less stressful, I guess. But, yeah, it was wild. And so here we are, maybe it was something to come where we knew, you could see the run scoring ability, but, you wouldn't have really thought it when a couple guys were slumping in April and May. But, yeah, that first night was crazy.
Jody Jackson joining us here on ESPN 620, of course, MLB host for the Diamondbacks. You've been to all of them. How's this year different than years past for you?
Well, this is an interesting year, and I think it really bodes well for the D-backs in that, you come off 23, and, so I would say 2017, they had a very good team. I was here in 07 and 11, teams that went to the playoffs, but 17, great team. 23 was that surprising team, and last year they had that drive to try to repeat. It's just the injuries caught up with them, and I think that, anytime you come off a World Series run and you have everyone playing that extra month under really high pressure, and it's not really all that surprising. And so now this year, they still won more games, but now this year they're even that much more hungry. And now they have the hunger, but they're also more healthy, more rested and ready to go. So, that's a great combination. So for me, it's a year that's really exciting. It's one of the most exciting years, maybe the most, maybe the highest expectations, because we really didn't have them in 23, at least not to go to the World Series. Last year, it's going to be tough to get back. And now they're really high. The expectations are really high, especially when you add a Corbin Burns to the mix. And so I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait. I can't wait to see what happens tonight. And then, that's the beauty of baseball, though. You have to go 161 more to figure it out. So.
Jody, how exciting can you be is when you talked about that outstanding staff? You look at maybe one of the better rotations in all of Major League Baseball. They're one of the leading hitting teams, scoring runs, didn't make a lot of errors. Problem was they gave up a lot of runs and did not succeed the expectations. Has that been kind of the mantra to kind of temper the enthusiasm here in spring training and just work it one day at a time instead of getting caught up in all the former accolades?
Yeah, exactly. You don't know. Last year they scored the most runs in the league, but then they have this really high ERA, and you try to figure that out with a team that was supposed to be built on pitching. Well, then you see, okay, well, it was a lot of injuries. It was a bullpen that kind of was in flux all year. I guess you could say right out of the gate you didn't have Seawald, and yet I wouldn't even say that the back end of it was the biggest issue. It was more the middle innings sometimes where games got away, where you feel like this year they've retooled that middle part of the bullpen. And yes, some of the names are the same, like a Bryce Jarvis. You've got Mantiply you can use in multiple places now. And I just think, you can't ever take it for granted, what you do one year to the next. But I think they have enough of the core backs that did good things. 89 wins. The crazy part is, guys, I think they're going to need to win about 90 or more even to get in with this crazy National League. There's so many good teams in the National League. But I think Mike Hazen's done a great job. Christian Walker leaves, but you get Josh Naylor. You add an ace to your staff. You do everything but add technically a closer, but you have closer candidates on your squad. So I think they feel good about it.
Jody Jackson's our guest on the Right Toyota guest line. Jody, you talked a little bit about the bullpen. For the life of me, you were there the entire spring training. I don't know why people get their panties all in a bunch because Torey Lovello didn't come out and name a closer immediately. It's going to be by committee for maybe the first month, and then you can make that determination. Here's a two-part question. A, does it matter to you if he has a closer in the first part of the month or not? And B, what is the status of Kevin Ginkel because I thought before his injury that he was pitching very well and would have had a chance to be that closer.
Yeah, for sure. He would have had with the shoulder injury. But, Torrey said that, I haven't talked to Kevin personally, but Torrey said that it looks like it's going to be the minimum. So maybe like 2 weeks and he'll be back. So that's great news. But, look, I think Puck and Martinez are both great options. I just think that Puck being left-handed and being as dominant as he is, if you line up against let's say you're going to hit the meat of the order, or you're going to hit some lefties in that 8th inning, you may see him there. And again, you guys know closer isn't always, the closer is the 9th, but sometimes you have key outs to be had in the 7th or the 8th. And so, I think maybe the guy that it points to is Justin Martinez, but, is he ready for it? He had it in spurts last year. He had some tightrope situations. But, let's face it, no matter who you've got there, even the closer per se, when Seawald came back, he had bumps and bruises a little bit. And most closers, them are not as dominant as was at the end of 23 or, I could name a handful of guys that are elite and really don't go through the ups and downs. Class A for the Guardians, and so we'll see what emerges, but they have guys that they feel like they can get those key outs in the 9th inning.
Jody, and the whole Corbin Burns scenario, if you will.
3 minutes.
Zach Gallen, the opening starter. He's been here, done that. For Burns not to be the guy's second rotation, I don't mind him starting him against the Yankees on the road. But what exactly did Torey Lovullo say that maybe you can, interpret what he said about the whole Corbin Burns situation?
Yeah, I've heard from all parties. I've heard from Torrey. I stood in front of Corbin Burns the other day, and it's kind of hard to fathom. I think, obviously, yeah, like you said, we moved on, and he's going to start in New York, and there is maybe a silver lining, and he's going to face the other team, and then they'll move him up, and he won't miss. I think that's the key thing for fans to understand is I think we all, including myself, kind of freaked out. Like, is he going to miss a start? Is he going to have, assuming he's healthy, is he still looking at 32 or 33 starts? And I think they're going to end up moving him up to a point where he will not, he will not miss a start. They'll make sure he gets through every turn by the end of the season, and he has as many starts as a Zach Gallen or
2 minutes. 2 minutes.
That could be manipulated, but I think what happened was, and what it sounds like is that Burns was lined up to start on conceivably opening day, right? But he was really, his 5th day was Wednesday. So what I think where people don't understand it is he's ready. Like in the world of baseball, you go on every 5th day, or if you have an off day, going on that 6th day is not inconceivable. But once Zach Gallen was named the starter, what happened was then you're putting him, because he was already lined up to pitch on Wednesday yesterday, and now you're asking him to go 2 days, not just one extra day, but in fact 2 extra days. And I think that's where it got to be like, okay, this is out of my norm. I'm a very routine guy. And just no one's really talked about this, but a lot of pitchers are really routine, and 2 days is a lot. So I think we have the spotlight on Corbin Burns because he's the guy that we're talking about. But if it were a Merrill Kelly or if it were somebody else, I think they would have had similar reaction. Like they would have had to fix this on the front end like weeks ago. You know what I'm saying? So they didn't map it out.
About a minute left.
To map it out, and that can. I'm guessing this is some combo of Corbin Burns and the pitching coach Brian Kaplan were the ones that mapped it. And then the decision did change things. So it was kind of a perfect storm of some things that happened that you wouldn't expect it to equal Corbin Burns being the 5th guy. But that's what happened, if that makes any sense to you guys.
It really does. But it's all right. It's opening day. That's all that counts, Jody. Jody, we'll be watching. Thanks for some time. We know you're driving to the park. Thanks for jumping on with us for a few minutes.
Thanks, guys. Enjoy the day.
It's Jody Jackson getting ready for opening day. You watch her on MLB, Cox 34. It makes sense if the season had already been going on.
Yes.
But when you haven't pitched in 5 days, you can pitch it in 2 days.
You would think the extra day of rest would welcome that? Just some extra throwing on the side?
I don't get it.
You know,
I know.
Was
you know, he's like a kicker.
I was just going to say, was Corbin Burns a kicker in high school or something like that?
They're all goofy. They're all
man.
goofy.
It is a Throwback Thursday. It is opening day. I'm going to take you back to some of the opening day top performances of all time. And Jimmy B's lady friends in Sun Lakes are in the news. I actually have some sound from Jimmy B's ladies from Sun Lakes. We're live from Twin Peaks, Deer Valley, right here.